Let's grow together. And let's dive into our next part of our service with Reverend Martin's message.
How many of you have ever received mail from Publishers Clearinghouse? Most of you. How many of you have ever won the Publishers Clearinghouse sweepstakes? Okay. Well, for years, I've been getting mail from Publishers Clearinghouse. And for the longest time, the big print on the outside of the envelope would say, "You may have already won." Now, after a few years, they changed that to, "Congratulations, Martin Preston. You are our grand prize winner." Except when you checked the fine print, you found the rest of the sentence. So the sentence in its entirety read, "Congratulations, Martin Preston. You are our grand prize winner if you have and return the winning number." Now, I have never, ever ordered anything from these people. I've never responded to any of their mailings, but no matter where I've lived in the United States, the mail just keeps coming. And I've received enough Publishers Clearinghouse mailing flyers to paper this entire building with enough left over for a couple of bonfires. Well, a few years ago, one of these Publishers Clearinghouse mailings made it to the Assembly of God Church in Bushnell, Florida. And the form letter stated that God of Bushnell, Florida, was a finalist for the $11 million top prize. And the letter stated in part, "God, we've been searching for you." And it went on to urge God to come forward. What an incredible future there would be for you, God. Can you imagine the looks you'd get from your neighbors? Well, Reverend Bill Black, the pastor of the church, was quoted as saying, "I always thought God lived here, but I didn't actually know. But now I do. He's got a post office box right here in Bushnell." Well, we all like to win, and just the prospect of winning gets us excited. I remember a few years ago reading a newspaper story of a woman who entered a pie baking contest at the county fair, and she was notified that she had won second prize in the pie category. So she was so thrilled, and she went down to pick up her ribbon, and her bubble burst when she discovered that she was the only contestant in her category. Vince Lombardi said, "Winning isn't everything, it's the only thing." Now that sounds a little harsh. So let's lighten things up a bit with this quote from Roger Staubach. "Winning isn't getting ahead of others, it's getting ahead of yourself." Or, as speed skater Bonnie Blair put it, winning doesn't always mean being first. Winning means you're doing better than you've ever done before. Well, regardless of how we define success in life, and it's going to be different for each of us, there's a saying that definitely applies. You've got to be in it to win it. That is, to win or to succeed at something, we must get in there and do something. That's the focus this morning. In it to win it. Well, why does it feel so good to win? Because you were born to win. The super salesman and motivational speaker Zig Ziglar once said, "You were born to win, but to be a winner, you must plan to win, prepare to win, and expect to win." Do you expect to win? Or do you identify with that old Willie Nelson song, "Born to lose, I've lived my life in vain. Every dream has only brought me pain. All my life I've always been so blue, born to lose, and now I'm losing you." Well, We all feel that way from time to time, so we're going to take a look at how to be a winner, how to alter our consciousness so that winning is a natural result of our living. So in the first place, we must learn to think like a winner. Because the truth is, we're all created with the resources we need to make our dreams come true, but we need to learn how to program our minds properly. And that's because a huge percent of the input that we get from the world is negative. And because we pay attention to it, a huge percentage of what we tell ourselves is negative. It takes continuous effort to change a born-to-lose mentality into a born-to-win normality. Because in life, you don't get what you want. In life, you get what you are. The only way to improve your experience of life is to change what goes on in your mind. And what you think determines what you do, and what you do determines what you accomplish. Walter Waddle wrote this wonderful little bit of verse. If you think you're beaten, you are. If you think you dare not, you don't. If you'd like to win but think you can't, it's almost a cinch that you won't. Life's battles don't always go to the stronger or stronger or faster man, but sooner or later, the man who wins is the man who thinks that he can. Now, that little poem zeroes in on the reason that positive thinking works. Even if it turned out that there was no God, even if it turned out that there was no such thing as a law of mind or law of attraction, even thinking about that, a positive attitude would still work and benefit your life, because, if for no other reason, a positive attitude keeps you from giving up when your path is blocked by an obstacle. The attitude of "I can do it" allows you to walk around over or through that obstacle. But if the obstacle causes you to give up and sing a few choruses of Born to Lose, you'll never make it to the finish line. So don't go there. Trust me, Willie does not need the money. Now, the bottom line is that you won't attempt to do something that you don't believe you can do. Olympic athletes understand this. They know that what they put in their minds will ultimately determine how well they do in competition. They know that their thoughts create their beliefs, and their beliefs determine how high and how far they'll go. Now, the good news is that there are ways to raise the vibrational level of our thoughts, feelings, and beliefs. So here's just a couple of enjoyable ways to improve your belief system. First, read the right things. Now, never in history have we had such a wonderful selection of metaphysical and motivational books. Science of Mind magazine offers a tremendous amount of valuable inspiration for every day of the month. The internet, properly used, can also keep you positive and motivated. I emphasize the words properly used because there's a lot of trash online, but there are many treasures there too. Read biographies. It's fascinating to learn about the experiences of people who have succeeded in life. Their stories are mostly about their failures on their way to success. So don't limit your reading to the biographies of the rich and famous. You can find incredible life stories in books like Chicken Soup for the Soul series, as well as magazines like Science of Mind and Guideposts. For example, I read about a man who was born into poverty, never applied himself in school, dropped out at the age of 16, never really figured out what he wanted in life, never held a job for more than a week or two, was constantly in and out of relationships, and yet, through a series of lucky breaks, he became one of the most successful people in his city. Well, actually, I didn't read about that because it never happened. Now, that wouldn't even pass for good fiction, because fiction has to seem real, at least while you're reading it. No, the common denominator of the lives of great achievers is that they had a dream that they were passionate about, and they never gave up in pursuing it. You've never read a biography of someone who had no dream and hit it big. You've never read a biography about someone who had a dream but gave it up and then hit it big. Now, we all know this, but how do we keep ourselves motivated when the going gets tough? Well, here's a few tips just as a review. Be mindful of who you spend your time with. Make it a point to associate with people who are positive. When you hang around people who think big, you start to think big. And when the people you hang around with believe in you, you start to believe in yourself. And this positive social feedback loop is so very helpful. There's a reason the 12-step groups are groups and not individual self-help programs. Likewise, coming to this center is about more than just the teaching. It's also about making connections and reinforcing each other's affirmative attitudes. So learn to think like a winner, because it's impossible to enjoy life if you feel that you're a victim, tossed about by circumstances under your control. The degree to which you feel in control of your life will largely determine your level of well-being, your peace of mind, your happiness, and the quality of your interactions with people. Psychologists tell us that this sense of control is the foundation of happiness and achievement. But in a vast, complicated world, how much control do you really have? Well, the only thing in the world that you have complete control over is your conscious mind. And if you decide to exercise that control and keep your mind on what you want, you'll be able to stay the course even when you encounter difficult circumstances. So work on your thinking until you absolutely, positively believe yourself to be a winner in anything you wish to accomplish. When you have unshakable confidence in yourself and your abilities, nothing can stop you. And this self-confidence comes from, first, understanding the power of your remarkable mind, and second, practicing the techniques of mental fitness over and over until you become a truly optimistic, cheerful, and positive person. Now, if practicing the techniques of mental fitness sounds like practicing physical fitness, that's because the process is similar. Let's say you were to set a fitness goal of being able to walk a mile in 15 minutes, which would be a pretty good achievement. We know that if we're being realistic, we'll have to do some work to get to that speed. If we've been inactive for a long time, we may need to start with doing a mile in 25 minutes or even a half hour. It may take months for us to get to our 15-minute goal, but our bodies will adapt. It's just that they'll adapt at their own pace. So we've got to be realistic and know that we have to keep plugging away until we reach our goal. Now, in the same way, it takes work to be a positive person. We can't quit if our thinking isn't always rainbows, lollipops, and unicorns. We have to put up with the occasional slip into stinking thinking and not let that get us down. Basically, there are four broad categories of things that are obstacles standing between us and a winning attitude. They are fear, worry, anger, and doubt. I think of these as the four horsemen of the apocalypse: fear, worry, anger, and doubt. When things are not working out for us, our immediate reaction tends to become fearful and uneasy, afraid that we'll lose whatever we care most about. We may start obsessing about potential losses rather than focusing on potential gains. And then fear triggers worry, and we begin to use our imagination to create all sorts of negative scenarios that cause unhappiness, depression, insomnia, and prevent us from living life effectively, perhaps even causing emotional and mental paralysis. And then fear and worry get together to produce anger in the form of a victim complex. Instead of moving forward confidently in the direction of our goals, we get distracted. We start blaming other people and outside circumstances for our problems. Nurturing these negative emotions is the mental quality of doubt, the opposite of a positive faith. Doubt is a fertile breeding ground for more fear, more worry, and more anger. In other words, it's a vicious cycle that feeds upon itself. As Shakespeare put it, our doubts are traitors and make us lose the good we oft might win by fearing to attempt. To eliminate the four horsemen of the apocalypse, fear, worry, anger, and doubt, we need to begin by eliminating the toxic emotion of doubt. The only real antidote is taking positive action toward the achievement of some worthwhile ideal. We need to always have a goal toward which we're working. We are goal-striving creatures. Our reason for being is setting goals and working toward them. Realize that you can only think about and concentrate on one thing at a time. Could be negative, could be positive. And I think it really is that absolute. There's no such thing as sort of okay. If it's not actually positive, it's negative. Successful people choose to think about what they want rather than what they don't want. And as a result, they're constantly working toward their goals rather than spending their time thinking and worrying about their current difficulties or the challenges they may face. So, if you have not seen your dreams fulfilled, what's holding you back? People who never achieve success tend to fall in love with their excuses. We get attached to our reasons for not moving forward. There's a recession. There's a pandemic. I'm a minority. No one will help me. And if someone challenges these reasons or tells us that we can accomplish so much more in spite of them, we will often argue with that person. We attempt to prove to ourselves and others that our limitations are real, and the less justification those beliefs have, the more we try to prove them to others. As Richard Bach put it, argue for your limitations, and sure enough, they're yours. We need to have the courage to question our self-limiting beliefs. We need to check our assumptions at the door. Ask yourself, what assumptions am I making about myself or my situation that might not be true? Think about your answers. Remember, most of our self-limiting beliefs have little or no basis in fact. They're based on ideas that we've accepted as true, sometimes in early childhood, and to the degree that we can accept them as true, they become true for us. You can always tell your true values and beliefs by looking at your actions. It isn't what you say, or what you wish, or what you hope, or what you intend, that demonstrates what you really believe. It's only what you do. It's why the Apostle Paul wrote that faith without works is dead. Or as we say here in our philosophy about affirmative prayer and our follow-up to it, treat and move your feet. You are where you are and what you are because of what you have done in the past. But the wonderful news is the past doesn't have to hold you back. That's because we are in a perpetual state of becoming. We are works in progress. So, here are 3 simple steps to help assure a positive mental attitude. First, whatever challenges you face, look forward instead of backward. Focus on where you want to be and what you want to do. Get a clear mental image of your ideal future, and then take whatever action you can to move in that direction. The past is over. Yesterday ended last night. As Jesus said, let the dead bury their dead. Those people who seem to make the same mistakes over and over and over again, they never got around to burying their dead. So let the past take care of itself and get your thoughts and mental images on the now, which is becoming your future. Second, when faced with a difficulty, focus on the solution rather than the problem. Solutions are naturally positive, and problems are naturally negative. The instant you begin to think in terms of solutions, you become a more positive person. And third, assume that something good is hidden within each difficulty or challenge. Dr. Norman Vincent Peale used to say, whenever God wants to give us a gift, he wraps it up in a problem. I'm not sure I want to think about that in all cases, but it's something worth considering because every great achievement in human history was the result of someone working out a solution to a problem. That problem could be there to help you learn something, to help you expand and grow. So why not assume that that's true? If you say that's Pollyanna thinking, I would reply, how does it help to think any other way? In every challenge, look for the valuable lesson. Only when you learn this lesson will you be wise enough to go on and achieve the big goals you've set for yourself. Again, since you can only think of one thing at a time, then if you're busy looking for the lesson, you cannot simultaneously think about the difficulty or the obstacle. You will always find the lesson if you look for it. And get committed to winning. And here we're talking about a 100% commitment instead of a 99.9% commitment. Now, 100% doesn't sound all that different from 99.9%, but think about this. At the city water department, a 99.9% rate of clean water would mean 1 hour of unsafe water per month. Speaking nationally, a 99.9% rate of accurate banking transactions would mean that 22,000 checks deducted from the wrong account every hour. So our goal should always be a 100% commitment. As Ken Blanchard says, there is a difference between interest and commitment. When you're interested in something, you do it only when it's convenient. When you are committed to something, you accept no excuses, only results. When you're committed, you don't waste time wondering whether to do it. Like Nike, you just do it. And now, a story, a true story. And as you listen, think about how many of the principles of winning that you can identify. Kat Kenwell was a few days shy of her 50th birthday when she suffered a traumatic brain injury. Now, she had been a long-distance runner, an activity which helped her keep her lifelong depression under control. But her depression became much worse after her brain injury, so she had a choice: live with it or do something about it. She chose to do something. So at the age of 50, severely depressed, menopausal, and brain injured, Kat joined the circus. To be more precise, she signed up for a class at a circus art school. It took a lot of guts for Kat to do that. She was by far the oldest student, and even the teachers were young enough to be her children. But she had made up her mind to do it, regardless of how odd it may have seemed. Now, her first task was to decide which skill to learn. She chose the lira. The lira is a metal ring about the size of a hula hoop. It's suspended by a rope. It runs to the ceiling of the stadium or to the very top of the big top through a pulley and down to an operator on the ground who can raise and lower that hoop anywhere from ground level to 30 or 40 feet in the air. And while that is being raised and lowered, the performer spins and somersaults in and out of the hoop. It's a very demanding act, but very beautiful. Well done. It's a very artistic aerial ballet. The first lesson was to pull herself up into the hoop, but she didn't have the arm strength to do it. Her coach told her to just keep trying, that most people can't lift their body weight. So Kat says, I kept trying and trying. And for 3 weeks I tried, and I got better and stronger. And then it happened. My hands gripped the bottom of the hoop, and I lifted my feet to touch the hoop. And then I hung upside down by my knees, and then I pulled myself up so that I was sitting in the hoop. The entire class applauded. Well, of course, that was just the beginning. Every week there was a new skill to master. Every week, Kat went home with the strangest bruises she had ever had. And she also went home to her depression. It was difficult to stay motivated as she dealt with her post-concussion syndrome. But she kept at it. And she discovered that while she was on the lira, the depression went away. One day she went to class and saw a sign-up sheet on the bulletin board. The school was going to put on a show, and the students were asked to do a 3-minute routine. So Kat asked her coach, do you think I could do something? Do I know enough? Am I good enough? And the reply was, absolutely. Let's work together to create an act. So Kat and her coach picked out some music and started assembling a sequence of tricks and transitions, and she ran these routines over and over again, trying to get them right. And now she was going home with bruises and blisters and calluses on her hands, but she was also going home with a spirit that soared higher than anything she had ever imagined. And then came the big day. Kat was scheduled to go on about halfway through the show. A bundle of nerves, she waited for her music to begin. And then she approached the lira, seeing in the audience her coach, her classmates, her brother, her cousins, and her husband. She soared through her performance as if she were flying. The time she had spent practicing, the bruising and the blisters were all worth it. Kat says, a cloud lifted that day. I was now a 51-year-old menopausal, brain-injured circus performer. And since that show, I've done several student performances. My recovery has not been easy, but when I get depressed, I remind myself that I'm a survivor. When things became unbearable, I didn't run away. Instead, I ran toward the circus. Whatever we want in life, we need to get excited about winning. As Emerson said, nothing great was ever achieved without enthusiasm. That word enthusiasm comes from the Greek ethos, to be filled with God. When we are enthused, we are operating on spirit power. We were not born to lose. We are provided daily with everything we need to succeed. Winning means you're living your dream life, realizing your goals, and being happy with where you finally wind up. Albert Schweitzer said that success is not the key to happiness. Happiness is the key to success. If you love what you're doing, you will be successful. So whatever it may be, if it's your dream and you're happy, you are winning in this thing called life. To sum it up, the formula for thinking like a winner. If you change your thoughts, you will change your beliefs. If you change your beliefs, you will change your expectations. If you change your expectations, you will change your attitude. If you change your attitude, you will change your behavior. If you change your behavior, you will change your performance. If you change your performance, you will change your life. You'll be the person you want to be, and all because you're in it to win it. Namaste.